You know, animation is not what it used to be. Back in the day, animation was still in its infancy, and no one really knew what the limitations of such a media could be. What couldn't be captured through pen and paper? What concepts were too advanced for the human mind to transcribe? What could be put on screen? And what should never ever be seen by the public eye? And more importantly, should cartoons be for one specific audience? These were the kind of questions one animator answered with the infamous words, "Screw you, I do what I want!" That man was Ralph Bakshi. While I personally have not seen most of the many works of Mr. Bakshi, I can admire a man who helped to create the genre of adult cartoons. He was one of the few directors who believed that cartoons shouldn't be limited to children alone, and proceeded to make bizarre, raunchy films specifically aimed for adults. While some have garnered critical acclaim, such as American Pop, a film I sadly have not seen as of this recording, his later films were known for being, well, just plain weird. The most notable example being Cool World, a film I sadly have seen. Rather than go for low-hanging fruit, however, today I plan to talk about a film that has, for better or worse, become a cult classic. That film is, of course, Wizards. A film Bakshi directed, wrote, produced, and even voiced in, this was the first fantasy film Ralph ever created. He had always had a fascination with the genre, always drawing characters during his high school days, according to Unfiltered, the complete Ralph Bakshi. He always meant to make a series featuring a fantasy tone, but never got a chance to make anything until he began to develop a movie for 20th Century Fox. Oh great, these guys again. His goal was to, ironically, make a children's film after persisting on making cartoons for adults. Did he succeed? Well, we'll have to see for ourselves. Now, since this is a Ralph Bakshi film, and Mr. Bakshi has been known to be less than coherent in his style, I've gone to the trouble of calling in a specialist to help me with this film. I do love great timing.
Sorry, I was running late. There was well, let's just say I ran into some traffic.
Oh, not a problem. I was just getting started. I was actually about to introduce you. Why don't you do the honors now that you're here?
Thanks, but I'm no one special. Just a fangirl. But I do have a skill that others lack.
And that would be?
The ability to read abstract text, as well as subtextual cues, all thanks to being an English major, as well as a rabid lover of fantasy. And boy howdy does Bakshi have lots of that stuff running around in here.
Well, no use prolonging the inevitable. Let's take a look at Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. We open with a narration telling us that humanity really messed up one day and nuked themselves to hell. After 2 million years, humanity mutated into hellish creatures in the Badlands, while fairies, dwarves, and other magical creatures suddenly reappear after hibernating all this time. The leader of these people, Delia, gives birth to a pair of twins who will one day become great wizards. Avatar... No, not that one. No, not that one either! Yes, that one. This is the obligatory good twin, who uses his magic for pacifism and entertainment, while Black Wolf uses his for evil because, of course. On the day Delia dies, the brothers fight one another with powerful magic, as Black Wolf wishes to take over the realm of magic for his own dark purposes, while Avatar wishes to preserve it. Black Wolf is of course defeated and swears vengeance upon his brother in the name of mutants.
And right off the bat, Bakshki's given us some stuff to pick apart. This part with the narrator is actually rather telling of his influences. You mentioned he was a fantasy lover, and that's clear because the narrator's style and manner is reminiscent of the narrator used by authors like J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. No doubt recognized by your fans as the fathers of The Land of Middle-earth and The Chronicles of Narnia, respectively. Such narrators like to give us a good chunk of exposition and help us to understand the world we've got to envision in our brains, since we're looking at words 99% of the time. And to build the world so that it feels real to us, even though the story is, well, just a story. But in the visual media of animation, this narration is honestly superfluous. We see enough of the world to understand a lot of what's going on, but the history lesson could have been conveyed some other way. We could do without the gentle but aged narrator and just give the exposition to Avatar, or have someone telling this to a fairy child who might not understand why the mutants are around.
But credit where credit is due, the art for this sequence is amazing. There's something very Lord of the Rings about it, which is funny considering that Bakshi actually made a version of Lord of the Rings. It really captures the feel of a fantasy genre.
Again, he was influenced. What better way to pay homage to something he liked? The art in this sequence, as you said, is also a departure from Bakshki's usual bouncy Mad World sort of look. Until we suddenly get to the pictures that move.
Yes, just when you get used to the animation style of the exposition dump, we start to see Ralph's traditional style come to life, as we see Black Wolf, now taking the form of zombie Dumbledore, setting off some goons to destroy Avatar once and for all.
Ah, yes. The first half of the Bakshi duo. Creepy, crazy crap. We'll get to the other one shortly.
Indeed. Bakshi certainly has a habit of creating surreal environments, as you can no doubt tell from the backgrounds. Just look at this. All the detail and lack of colors truly sells the point that Black Wolf's domain is one of cold technology. But then we see some of the locals, like these hooker pixies. You know, for kids!
And the other half of the duo. Titties all around.
Yeah, when I said Bakshi's work was raunchy, I wasn't exaggerating. You're gonna see a lot of this in this film.
Well, there goes your monetization. Look! YouTube's already flagged it.
Well, that didn't take long. Anyway, this red guy called Necron99 will be our kinda sorta not really focus for the first part of the film. He's essentially a robot, I think, who is meant to hunt down Avatar and apparently shoot down anyone who talks smack about technology, like these two elf-looking guys. Meanwhile, we finally get to see this all-powerful wizard everyone has been talking about, who...
Damn it.
Doesn't look that impressive. Yes, this is Avatar, the Defender of Magic.
Now, part of the look is likely due to the shared idea among Bakshki's influences, Tolkien and Lewis, remember? Who often made the most unimpressive, unremarkable people into the heroes of their tales. Bilbo and Frodo Baggins, just two chubby hobbits with wide eyes and good hearts. The Pevensie children? Bunch of orphans in World War II who haven't lost their ability to dream. So yeah, not that impressive, but just right. Well, minus the smoking and the wisecracks, but hey, Avatar was meant to be appealing and a natural at drawing others in.
People like the Masked President and oh wow!
Yep, even people like them.
This is Eleanor. She has boobs. Yeah, I know she has other character traits, but by God, Bakshi really wanted you to forget about them. All joking aside, Eleanor is the apparent love interest of Avatar, and is actually the daughter of the president.
Say what you will, but for all he's a little bearded dude, Avatar's got game to get that girl. But in all seriousness, it's another staple of fantasy literature. A beautiful and pure-hearted princess type. And she's also filling in the apprentice to the magician archetype, as she's here not just to get Avatar to show her his magic wand, but also wants to learn to use proper magic. Apparently a fairy needs a half-human wizard born of immaculate conception to teach her to use power that others have no problem throwing out.
Quelle coincidence! Meanwhile, Avatar transitions to another exposition dump to basically tell us how Black Wolf became Sauron. No, I'm not kidding. Black Wolf essentially studied black magic, rose an orcish army, and even summoned evil spirits not unlike the Nazgul, all in order to take over the world. His first few attempts didn't go all that well, especially with soldiers like these.
Fritz, get up, for God's sake, get up! They've killed Fritz! They've killed Fritz! Those lousy, stinking yellow fairies! Those horrible, atrocity-filled vermin! Those despicable animal warmongers! They've killed Fritz! Take that! Take that! Take that, you green swine! You black-hearted, short, wool-legged!
Max, I'm okay. I'm okay, Max. Just a scratch. Look, I'm all right. Max.
Oh, damn. There you go again, stepping on my lines, raining on my parade, costing me medals. Oh, damn. Ooh. Ooh, Fritz. Fritz, get up, for God's sake. Get up. They've killed Fritz. They've killed Fritz. Those lousy, stinking yellow fairies. Those horrible atrocity-filled vermin. They've killed Fritz.
I don't know what's stranger, the incompetence of these guys or the fact that Fritz was voiced by Bakshi himself. After a few embarrassing failures, Black Wolf sends his men to find new ways to win the war, thus somehow coming across derelict World War II weaponry. Like you do. Apparently, Avatar sent some spies to discover what else Black Wolf has found, but they haven't returned yet, much to the President's agitation.
You mean you sent out that elf envoy?
I'm sorry, but how have they not seen him? Seriously, how have neither the President or Eleanor not noticed a human-sized, red-suit, yellow-eyed, rifle-wielding robot just standing in the moonlight? Actually, the better question should be, why is Necron just standing there? Did he just remember his favorite song and blank out or something?
I can't decide whether you should live or die, or you'll probably go to heaven. Please don't hang your head and cry.
Well, see, what Bakshi was likely attempting here was a bit of shock value. Necron is Black Wolf's most successful, deadliest assassin. He wouldn't be worth his salt if he wasn't able to silently infiltrate Avatar's tower to do his job. Of course he got inside, it's part of his mission. And why give away his position by saying, "Oh, hey, sorry to interrupt the story, I just need to shoot you guys." Plus, he's a robot tied to Black Wolf himself. He's probably getting reconnaissance to show his evil overlord what the enemy is doing.
Touché. Speaking of shooting people, oh look, he shoots people!
Yep, Eleanor's dad takes a bullet, and Avatar, showing he's still got the touch, takes the robot down just as the bodyguard, also known as Weehawk, shows up. Way to do your job, dude.
Eleanor takes this turn of events well. And just like Fangirl said, news of Necron's deactivation reaches Black Wolf back at, neo-Nazi headquarters. Yeah, very subtle, Bakshi.
Remember that beginning when we were told that humanity essentially destroyed itself in war? Yeah, this is a what if we'd all just killed each other during World War II scenario, and for the time it was made, it was important. This movie was done in 1977. The Vietnam War had ended 2 years ago, and there was still no end to the violence in the remnants of that time, or of the enormous world war that had come before that. Propaganda had been instrumental in both these instances to get people on all sides to get involved. For every Nazi flyer flying around in Germany during World War II, you had buy war bonds and pictures of fanged Asian soldiers tossed out here in the States. Granted, Nazis deserve a huge butt-kicking because, Nazis. But Bakshki's point was that throwing out propaganda made to incite frenzy, fury, and rage can, in the proper circumstances, bring out the worst in people.
Speaking of throwing out propaganda, Black Wolf proceeds to throw out propaganda in order to do everything Fangirl just said. And also summon the powers of rotoscoping, apparently.
Dude loved his rotoscoping. But that was common practice in those days because, well, CGI hadn't been invented yet to quickly make massive armies in animation, and it was considered fast and cheap, even though it was neither.
And of course, the propaganda in question is Nazi propaganda, which pretty much does exactly what Black Wolf wanted: inspire his soldiers to march across the land. The elves and fairies make their stand but are skeptical about their enemy's power. Probably explains why this ginger dwarf here is preoccupied with smoking a pipe that has tits on it. This music is not at all fitting for what is supposed to be the approach of a newly revived Nazi Reich. It sounds more like a porno's about to start. Look, one of them has a disco ball shield! But no sooner do I say that than Black Wolf shows the elves this cool new movie he just found. Needless to say, the elves aren't the biggest fans and are distracted long enough to be wiped off the face of the earth. Back at Avatar's place, the old wizard gets info on what's going on, and immediately goes to take a nap.
What do you mean, leave? You gotta be kidding. I'm too old for this sort of thing.
He's gonna be one of those Yoda kind of guys, isn't he?
Yeah, pretty much.
Why don't you sit there for a couple hours while I figure it out?
Okay.
I know I want to avenge my father, but I'll drop everything if you tell me to pose for the camera. So the heroes prepare for the journey, and Avatar convinces Necron 99, now renamed Peace, to lead them to Black Wolf's dream machine, aka the propaganda machine.
Peace wants love, wants free, will help.
Yeah, you certainly sound like it, bud. So as we get our first and only song, Black Wolf's neo-Nazis visit some sort of religious place to get some advice on what to do with their elven prisoners. Their advice is... just watch.
Hear us, O Lord, hear our petition.
No,
Oh, Lord, we cry out to you. Lord, hear our prayers. Hear the prayers of thy humble servants. Oh, Lord God, do not hear us in our hour of need. We need you.
Fangirl, what the hell are we watching right now?
Essentially, this is a metaphor for how people can completely lose the meaning of a religion they supposedly believe in when they know jack squat about it and are just in it for whatever reasons. The 60s and 70s were filled to the brim with supposed spiritual leaders, from the stereotypic gurus to southern pastors. And the truth is, the majority of these people may have read a little bit about what they were talking about in order to gain followers, but they didn't actually believe in anything other than their own wallets and egos. Because of this, people who were seeking enlightenment, spirituality, and answers to why life is the way it is ended up being, well, fed a lot of crap. The spiritual leaders were essentially just screwing around, as we see here. These guys have misinterpreted, misread, and misunderstood everything to the point that they're just making noise for the sake of making noise.
Thankfully, the soldiers have ways of dealing with these kind of people. Meanwhile, Black Wolf has a heart-to-shriveled heart with his kinda sorta not really wife about his future offspring.
Wise men, will my son be human or mutant?
Mutant, the charts say, my lord.
The next one won't be.
Do not have it killed, O Lord!
Wow, this guy is the epitome of "this one's broken, let's make another." Back with Avatar and company, the gang encounter fairy territory and shenanigans ensue.
Hey! All right. You've had it. This is Avatar the Great you're fooling with. Avatar, consul and wizard of your great-grandfather's consuls. I call upon all forces of darkness. Oh, winds of abysses, howling through the stars, and eons of centuries. Oh, lords of the whirlwind, black, gray, and white, I call upon you.
North winds blow, south winds blow, typhoons, hurricanes, earthquakes. Smog!
But before Avatar can do anything rash, this one fairy uses the power of Deus Ex Machina to apologize for his hijinks.
Please accept our apologies for the behavior of some of our more carefree brothers. I'm Sean, leader of the Knights of Stardust, protectors of Dolan, king of the mountain fairies.
Oh, hi, Mark!
Yep, taking a break from filming the original Star Wars, Mark Hamill voices Sean in his first ever role. So, what is his purpose in the film?
To die, obviously!
Assassin! Technology!
Well, not the worst death Mark has had in his acting career. Ever seen The Guyver?
Sean, you've got to help. But what can I do? It's too late for me. But you've got to stop them. Oh.
Now that's the stuff of nightmares. So Peace supposedly betrays the group and starts shooting the fairies, causing them to jump cut Eleanor to their lair. Avatar and Weehawk run after her but get separated along the way.
This is the part in fantasy stories where, naturally, the party is split so that each group does some growing and learning. Just as the Fellowship was split in The Lord of the Rings in order to learn about the plights of different peoples in Middle-earth, become stronger and ultimately unite all the armies together to tackle the massive amount of evil in the world, so too is Avatar's group split, so that Weehawk and Peace can get some bonding going on, and so that Eleanor can get a lesson in humility and peaceful negotiation. This girl is clearly in no position to take on any of her father's responsibilities, and obviously needs to learn to control that magic of hers.
Especially since it shoots out of her crotch.
Typical Bashki. Insert birthing metaphor.
Anyway, Avatar tries to appeal to the Fairy King, but then Black Wolf does this.
My brother lies! My good king!
Genius. But the plan backfires as Avatar's restraint proves his legitimacy to the Fairy King.
The only act that has been real so far is the fact that Avatar did not break his word when the arrow struck him. He did not fight back.
Avatar really does have the power to destroy everyone in that room, if he wanted to. He just doesn't have the heart. He was raised with a love of the natural world and fairies, after all. Why hurt them when, in their eyes, he was the one who brought the threat into their territory? He knew he didn't need to prove anything, but prove he was a man of his word to win them over and save Eleanor.
The two are jump cut to, I guess, the Arctic? Where they wander in circles for a while before coming across Weehawk and Peace again.
Aw, they kept each other safe while their lives were in danger, so now they're best friends!
Of course! After another exposition dump, the party makes it to a desert, and are immediately ambushed by... Avatar's children?
Oh! Our father's return!
Nah, just more fairies. They've managed to survive through Black Wolf's seizure-inducing war footage in order to regroup and be able to take down the mutant army. And they're going to do so the way many armies win, using the enemy's weapons against them.
They're so flushed by their victories that they plan to go on pretty much a suicide mission to attack Black Wolf's capital. Avatar tries to persuade the general to stop with a solid punch to the face, but the chief ain't backing down.
Meanwhile, we have an important moment between Peace and Eleanor. Mark what she's told about the former killing machine's concentration. I mean it! Don't forget this!
Peace is in constant mental battle with Black Wolf. Your kind words took his mind off the battle. It allowed Black Wolf his chance.
No sooner is this brought up than this happens.
Betrayal.
What the hell just happened?
Remember before when Peace killed Sean? Well, that's part of the mental connection to Black Wolf thing. Peace was programmed to kill important fairies, so he recognized that Sean had some good leadership qualities, hence why he was shot. A lapse in Peace's concentration had the original programming go off. Here, it's likely that Black Wolf used that break in the robot's mental focus to latch onto Eleanor and start controlling her. He could have killed her, yeah, but remember Black Wolf's wife? She's still beautiful, but she's not giving him viable unmutated offspring. Plus, Eleanor's important to Avatar. What better way to discourage his brother, gain a possible new baby mama, and get rid of the last possible leader among the fairies than to take Eleanor?
Well, when you put it that way, it makes sense. I just wish we, saw any of that happen.
And ruin the shock and tension? Perish the thought! Admittedly, yeah, it would have been nice to have the audience see some of that rather than blindside everyone.
Avatar and Weehawk make it to Black Wolf's stronghold, but the old wizard is still shell-shocked from Eleanor's supposed betrayal, and starts planting flowers.
No more wars, you fools. Love. Scotch can be beautiful, too. Look, real beautiful presents.
Now that is a wonderful trick.
Yep, poor dude's lost it. But luckily, Weehawk snaps him out of it enough to get the guy to the main castle, where they part ways again, this time so Weehawk can find Eleanor and destroy Black Wolf's projector of doom, while Avatar faces his brother once and for all.
But not before another battle ensues outside the fortress. Or more accurately, the movie just loses its mind for a bit.
Ah, the brutality and madness of war. It's wretched, and the fairies are outnumbered. How can they possibly win? What could turn the tide?
How about the epic wizard fight we were promised since the beginning? That ought to do it, right? An epic fight pitting brother against brother. Light versus darkness. Magic versus technology. Who will fire the first metaphorical shot?
I'm glad you changed your last name, you son of a bitch.
What?
Now, I know what you're thinking. What just happened? Where's our epic duel? Just remember that at this point, Avatar's broken because he thinks that his pupil/love has turned traitor. He's also probably tired of this constant fight and just wants this feud to be over. So, rather than draw this out with another big magic fight, which they already did when they were younger, and possibly lose to Black Wolf, Avatar takes a cue from Indiana Jones and just gets it over with. Bit anticlimactic, but hey, guaranteed win. Plus, it wouldn't be Bakshi if he followed all the expectations.
Meanwhile, Weehawk has found a not brainwashed Eleanor and drags her out to Avatar, thus rekindling his spirit and persuading him to get the heck out of Dodge.
And don't worry, Black Wolf's wife and child escaped too, because she wasn't evil, just making babies for someone who was. And who knows? Since we never see that baby, maybe it isn't that horrible, and she might raise the kid to be something good. So yay, a few lives saved. But because Black Wolf was apparently a load-bearing boss, the whole capital is destroyed along with the castle and the films that fueled the mutant army. This causes the whole bunch to run away in fear and defeat, and the forces of nature and goodness win the day.
With that, Avatar and Eleanor go off to get married while Weehawk rules his own kingdom.
And we close out on that beautiful song that Eleanor sang earlier in the movie.
So, how does this film measure up? Well, I have to admit, the first time I saw this film, I was left flabbergasted. Bakshi's iconic, insane style was something to behold for a newcomer like me. The writing is admittedly somewhat spastic if not done before, the audio mixing sometimes makes it hard to hear important dialogue, the lip syncing is on par with Transformers Combiner Wars and now Transformers Titans Return. The artwork ranges from passable to just plain ugly, even in parts that aren't meant to be, and there is certainly quite a bit of, fan service. But upon second viewing, I can actually see why this is a cult classic. There really is nothing like wizards. I mean, a mutant wizard using the power of ancient Nazi propaganda to take over the world? Who else has done that?
And like many other fantasy films and novels, Bakshi's story has a good mixture of social commentary, satire, and a lot of wonder. But as someone who loves this film and is able to follow it, even when I first saw it as a kid, yeah, I first saw this movie when I was about 10 years old, I have to admit it would have been better as a novel than as an animated film. But you know what? It's still a piece of fantasy and animation history, and the crazy as the movie is, I wouldn't want it altered or changed for anything in the world.
What we're saying is that Wizards is a wild ride that has to be experienced at least once. If you want to see a better Bakshi film than Cool World, but still want to see just how crazy old Ralphie can be, we implore you to take a look at Wizards for yourself.
Well, that's settled. I better get going now. Thanks for having me on. I just hope that things have cleared up out there.
Not a problem, fangirl. Thanks for translating for me. See you later.
See you around. Ah, crap. Hope my broadsword's still out here. Have at thee! Yeah!
Well, that was a thing. Anyway, that right there was the lead writer for The Division at 221B, the YouTube channel I plugged in my Equestria Girls reviews. She works alongside Sherlock, myself, and lots of other people to bring quality content featuring the ponified version of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's iconic character, Sherlock Holmes. She is also an up-and-coming artist and even features voices for The Division and other productions. Keep an ear out for her work, and check out the links below to her Patreon and Redbubble page if you want to throw some change at her art. In the meantime, never stop rambling. This has been Rambles and Mumbles of a Nerd, and I thank you very much for watching this episode.